I had just settled into my seat on a flight overseas when I received a message from my CEO wife, Chloe. Leo's not a suitable match for the bone marrow transplant. I've already found a new donor. Where are you? I'll pick you up so we can go to the hospital and schedule the surgery. Why aren't you answering? Are you asleep? I didn't reply. I turned off my phone and closed my eyes, feigning sleep. A moment later, my phone began to buzz incessantly. Where are you? Why aren't you home? Where did you go so late? Answer the phone. Ethan, if you don't answer this phone, we're getting a divorce. After countless messages and calls went unanswered, she suddenly drove to the hospital. She knew my father, who was suffering from leukemia, was still there, and she knew I would never abandon him. But when she rushed to the hospital, she found my father's room completely empty. She grabbed the nearest nurse. The patient in this room, where is he? The resuscitation efforts failed a few days ago. He passed away. His son was outside the emergency room crying all night. We heard his wife had found a bone marrow match, but for some reason, she never came. At those words, her face went white as a sheet. She finally remembered the day of the scheduled surgery. She couldn't bear to let Leo go through with the donation, so she had stopped him. My father lay on the operating table, his life fading away with each passing moment. I had called Leo 52 times before he finally picked up. I screamed into the phone, Leo, where are you? The surgery's been postponed for 2 hours. My dad, A sob came from the other end. I'm sorry, I'm just so scared. I can't do it. Before I could say another word, I heard a familiar, gentle female voice in the background. There, don't cry. If you're scared of the pain, you don't have to donate. It was Chloe's voice. I felt like I'd been struck by lightning, and the phone slipped from my hand, clattering onto the floor. I stumbled out of the hospital and into the parking garage. In the darkest corner, I saw her familiar black Maybach. The window was partially down, and I could see Chloe's hand gently rubbing Leo's back, a gesture so tender it burned my eyes. Don't be scared, don't be scared. We can just postpone the surgery for another month. I'll use every resource at my disposal to find a perfect match in the meantime, Chloe's voice carried clearly. Don't you worry. Leo's tears turned to a smile. Thank goodness for you, Miss Sterling. I really didn't know what I was going to do. I accepted your financial support, so I should have donated the marrow for Mr. Hayes' father, but I was just so afraid. Don't worry, I'll never make you do anything you don't want to, Chloe said softly. I'll always be here for you, no matter what. The sound of the engine starting snapped me out of my trance. In that instant, I knew everything Chloe had said about taking care of Leo just to keep him healthy for the donation was a lie. She had fallen in love with the 18-year-old boy. My phone rang again. It was the hospital. I answered, and a doctor's somber voice came through the line. Mr. Hayes, your father passed away 1 minute ago from multiple organ failure. Resuscitation was unsuccessful. Please accept our deepest condolences. I collapsed onto the cold concrete, and everything went black. When I woke up, I numbly signed one document after another. My father lay there peacefully, looking as though he were just asleep. I held the large hands that had once walked me to school and taught me how to write, but now they were cold and stiff. I'm sorry, I choked out, but no tears came. It felt like a part of my heart had been carved out, leaving only a dull, throbbing ache. 3 days went by. Chloe never showed up. She didn't even call. I opened Facebook, and the first thing I saw was a 9-photo post from Leo. It was a picture of him and Chloe by Lake Tahoe. In the photo, Chloe's arm was around Leo's shoulders, her smile so gentle it felt like a slap in the face. The caption read, "Thanks for keeping me company, Ms. Sterling. Feeling so much better." I mechanically hit the like button. Less than a minute later, my phone buzzed. A message from Chloe popped up. Leo is emotionally unstable and can't donate right now. I've already contacted the best specialists in the country and abroad. We'll reschedule the surgery for sometime next month. I'm going to spend some time with him, help him relax and get his head right. I stared at the screen and suddenly, I laughed. She still had no idea my father was dead. She had no idea I'd overheard her in the parking garage, that I knew her heart had already strayed. I closed the iMessage window and dialed another number. Mrs. Sterling, I know you've never approved of me. I'm ready to sign the divorce papers now. I'll take the money and disappear from Chloe's life forever. There was a stunned silence on the other end. But you always insisted it was true love, that you would never let her go. I said nothing. I was once naive enough to believe Chloe would love me forever, just as she did in the beginning. But people change and promises expire. She only had eyes for an 18-year-old boy, and I was long past that age. Finally, I just said quietly, Mrs. Sterling, Please send me the divorce agreement. Chloe's mother's tone immediately brightened. Excellent. Sign it, and once the mandatory 1-month waiting period is over, you leave. The money will be in your account on schedule. And remember, once you're gone, you are to never see Chloe again. I hung up and received the digital divorce agreement moments later. I read every single word before printing it out. As soon as the page was out of the printer, I signed my name. This time, Chloe, I'm going to make you disappear from my world for good. The next day, I went to my office, walked into my editor-in-chief's office, and handed him my resignation. Why are you quitting all of a sudden? He asked, surprised. I thought you loved this job. I approved your leave for your father's illness. By now, he should have had the surgery and be in recovery, right? I shook my head. My father passed away, and I'm getting a divorce and leaving the city. My colleagues had always been fond of me, and when they heard I was leaving, they all walked me downstairs. Just then, someone gasped, Ethan, look, your ever-doting wife is here to pick you up. I froze. Through the glass doors, I saw the black Maybach parked at the curb. I nodded goodbye to my colleagues and walked out, clutching a box of my belongings. When I pulled open the car door, Chloe was turned in her seat, fastening Leo's seatbelt, her hair brushing against his neck. The moment the door opened, they both turned, their expressions freezing on their faces. Leo quickly straightened up. Mr. Hayes, please don't get the wrong idea. I just forgot my seatbelt, and Chloe was helping me. I'm not getting the wrong idea. I cut him off, my voice perfectly calm. Chloe's eyes fell to the box in my arms, and her brow furrowed. You quit your job. I was tired, I said dismissively. Do you have any other plans? She studied me for a moment before saying coolly, get in. There's a new restaurant nearby. Their food is supposed to be very restorative. I'm taking Leo to try it, and you can come along. If it's good, you can bring some back for your father. My fingers tightened into a fist. It felt like a dull knife was twisting in my chest. My father was dead, and she hadn't even come to see him one last time. But I said nothing. I just got in the car. In the private dining room, Chloe ordered a table full of restorative dishes. This herbal chicken soup with cordyceps is excellent for post-surgery recovery, she said, ladling a bowl and pushing it toward Leo. You try it first. Leo accepted it, looking flattered. He took a small sip, and his eyes lit up. It's delicious. A small smile played on Chloe's lips as she picked up a piece of steamed sea bass, meticulously deboned it, and placed it in his bowl. Fish is high in protein. Eat up. Leo's cheeks turned a faint pink. Ms. Sterling, you're so good to me, he whispered. I sat across from them in silence, feeling like a complete stranger. The meal was long and agonizing. As it ended, Chloe took a work call. You two go on ahead and wait for me downstairs, she said, glancing at her phone with a slight frown. I'll be right down. Leo and I got into the elevator together. The moment the doors slid shut, he suddenly smiled. Mr. Hayes, you're so understanding. Chloe is so good to me, and you're not even a little bit jealous. I ignored him, but he was persistent, leaning in close to my ear and whispering, You've seen it for a while now, haven't you? Chloe's fallen in love with me. My hand clenched. Leo smirked triumphantly. You're so boring, like a block of wood. But me. His words were cut short as the elevator jolted violently. The lights flickered twice and then died completely. In the darkness, Leo grabbed my arm in a panic. What's going on? I quickly hit the emergency call button. Stay calm. The elevator's stuck. A muffled voice crackled over the intercom. Please remain calm. We're working on the problem. Leo started to cry. I'm scared. Somebody get me out of here. No sooner had he spoken than the elevator shuddered again, then dropped several feet with a sickening lurch. Leo completely broke down, screaming, Help me! Somebody help! I pressed my back against the wall, my knuckles white as I gripped the handrail. We could hear frantic footsteps outside. Soon, Chloe's voice came through the crack in the doors. Leo, are you two okay? Leo screamed back, Miss Sterling, save me. I'm so scared. A technician's voice shouted urgently, The main cable is frayed, could snap at any second. We can only get one of you out right now, you have to choose. The air in the elevator went still. I held my breath, hearing Chloe's ragged breathing, Leo's hysterical sobs, and the thunderous pounding of my own heart. Leo! Chloe's voice was calm and clear. In that moment, my blood ran cold. The doors were pried open just enough for Chloe to reach in and pull Leo to safety. Leo clung to Chloe, his face pale and his body shaking. Miss Sterling, I was so scared. It's okay now, she said, patting his back comfortingly before turning to the technicians. Hurry, get Ethan out. But just as they moved to help, there was a horrifying screech of tearing metal. The elevator plunged into darkness. When I opened my eyes again, The sharp smell of antiseptic filled my nose. I turned my head slightly and saw Chloe slumped in a chair next to my bed. She had dark circles under her eyes, as if she'd been there for a long time. "You're awake? How are you feeling?" I turned my head away from her and pulled my hand back. She began to explain. "It was an emergency. Leo is young and he was terrified. Plus, he still needs to donate marrow for your father. I couldn't risk anything happening to him, so I had to save him first." She paused, her voice softening. "I'm sorry you got hurt." My voice was a raw whisper when I finally spoke. "Chloe, if the bone marrow donation wasn't a factor, would you have saved him? Or me?" The room was deathly silent, broken only by the rhythmic beep of the heart monitor. After a long moment, she said, "I'd save you, of course." I laughed. Her hesitation was the only answer I needed. The sudden ringing of a phone shattered the silence. Chloe glanced at the screen, her brow creasing. "It's Leo." On the other end, Leo's voice was thick with tears. "Ms. Sterling, I had a nightmare. I'm really scared. Can you come be with me?" Chloe instinctively looked at me. "Go," I said flatly. "I don't need you here." She didn't argue, just nodded. "You get some rest. I'll come see you tomorrow." She left in such a hurry she forgot her coat. During my recovery, Chloe never visited, only sending texts about being busy with work. I didn't call her on her lie. I handled my own discharge papers. A few days later, I threw a party to say goodbye to my friends in the city. After everyone had eaten and talked, I stayed behind to pay the bill. I was just about to leave the restaurant when Chloe called my name. "Ethan." She was standing a short distance away, a frown on her face. "What are you doing here?" Before I could answer, she walked over. "I'm at a dinner here myself. We can go home together later." I tried to pull away, but she dragged me forcefully into a private dining room. The moment she opened the door, I saw Leo sitting at the head of the table, dressed in a crisp white shirt, looking like an innocent angel. Chloe noticed where I was looking and said, "The donation is soon. I have to keep a close eye on him to make sure nothing goes wrong." I didn't say anything, just took a seat in the corner. The room was filled with laughter and the clinking of glasses. After a few drinks, someone suggested a game of truth or dare. After a few rounds, it was my turn. The dare was to reveal a secret no one knew. Someone in the group egged me on. After a moment of silence, I said quietly, "My secret is that in a few days, I'm going to give Chloe a very big gift." The room went quiet for a second. Then someone laughed, trying to break the tension. "Ethan, that's not much of a secret. Your dad's surgery is in a few days. Of course you'd get Chloe a gift to thank her." Others quickly agreed. "Yeah, that doesn't count. You have to do the penalty." I took a deep breath, about to speak, when a soft cracking sound came from above. No one else seemed to notice, but Chloe did. She instinctively looked up and saw the massive crystal chandelier swaying, the bolts holding it to the ceiling having worked themselves almost completely loose. The chandelier came crashing down. In a flash, Chloe shoved her chair back and lunged toward Leo, shielding him with her own body. The fixture slammed into her back, sending shards of crystal flying in every direction. I didn't even have time to move. A searing pain shot through my shoulder and back as sharp fragments of glass embedded themselves in my skin. I stumbled backward and collapsed into the wreckage. Blood quickly soaked through my white shirt. Through my blurry vision, I saw Chloe anxiously checking on Leo. "Leo, are you hurt anywhere?" Her voice was frantic. Leo only had a shallow scratch on his arm, but he was already sobbing. "Ms. Sterling, it hurts so much. I'm taking you to the hospital right now." Chloe pulled him to his feet and rushed out the door, not once glancing back at me, bleeding on the floor. I managed to pull myself up from the broken glass and get to the hospital on my own. The doctor treated my wounds, and though the pain made me break out in a cold sweat, I didn't make a sound. After my wounds were dressed, I picked up my phone and happened to see a new Facebook post from Leo. It was a photo of his wrist, adorned with a diamond watch. The caption read, "A gift from Chloe. She said it suits me perfectly." My vision narrowed. That was the watch my father gave me for my 18th birthday. After he died, I couldn't bring myself to wear it, so I kept it locked away in our safe at home. And Chloe had given it to Leo. Ignoring the doctor's protests, I ripped the 4 from my arm and stumbled down the hall to Leo's room. It was at the very end of the corridor. When I burst in, he was leaning against his pillows, admiring the watch on his wrist. When he saw me, his expression immediately shifted to one of panic, and he tried to hide his wrist behind his back. "Mr. Hayes, there's no one else here, Leo. You can drop the act." I snarled, my voice a raw rasp. "Give me back the watch." His eyes welled up. "No." I was scared, and Chloe gave this to me to make me feel better. I enunciated every word. "That was a gift from my father. Give it back. I didn't wait for another excuse. I lunged for it. As we struggled, Leo shoved open the window and threw the watch out. No! Without a second thought, I dove for the window, my hand outstretched. There was a sickening crunch. The watch shattered on the pavement below. My momentum carried me out the window, and I crashed hard onto the safety netting outside. The next time I woke up, my head was wrapped in thick bandages, and my entire body felt like it had been run over. Chloe was sitting by my bed. When she saw my eyes open, she frowned. It was just a watch. Was it really worth trying to kill yourself over? My voice was a broken whisper. That was the last gift my father ever gave me. What right did you have to give it to Leo? Chloe looked taken aback for a second, then grew impatient. Leo was traumatized. Nothing else I offered would calm him down, and he happened to see that one. She paused. Besides, your father is still alive, isn't he? He'll have plenty of chances to give you more gifts. There's no need to be so dramatic. My heart seized in my chest. She was so consumed with Leo that she didn't even know my father was dead. Mistaking my silence for acceptance, Chloe stood up. You get some rest. I'm gonna go check on Leo. After I was discharged, I went back to our house and started packing my things. I threw every gift Chloe had ever given me into the trash, tossing out 5 years of a laughable marriage. Chloe didn't come home for days, and I didn't care. On the day the waiting period ended, Mrs. Sterling came to the house herself. Here is the final decree and the settlement, she said, handing me the folder. Her perfectly preserved face wore a triumphant smile. I'll give Chloe her copy. Now, you will honor your end of the agreement and disappear. I took the papers calmly. When my fingers brushed against the cold certificate, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. Don't worry, I said quietly. From this day forward, I will never enter her world again. As I walked away with my suitcase, a light rain began to fall, just as it had on the day Chloe and I first met. Just before takeoff, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Chloe. Leo isn't a suitable match for the bone marrow transplant, but don't worry, I've already found a new donor. Where are you? I'll pick you up so we can go to the hospital and schedule the surgery. I stared at the screen, and a smile spread across my face. There's no need for that, Chloe. Not anymore. I blocked her number, deleted all her contact information, and turned off my phone. Meanwhile, Chloe stared at her phone, the call unanswered, a strange sense of dread creeping into her heart. After calming Leo down, she sped home, only to find the house deserted except for her mother, who was sitting on the sofa, calmly sipping tea. Where's Ethan? Mrs. Sterling set down her cup. Why are you looking for him? I need to talk to him about his father's surgery. Her mother shook her head, her expression a mixture of pity and frustration. There's no need for that. Didn't you know? His father died a month ago. Chloe froze as if she'd been struck by lightning. The car keys slipped from her hand and clattered to the floor. What did you say? And you two are divorced, her mother continued, handing her the official decree. From this day forward, he will never see you again. Chloe stared at the divorce decree, at the single photo of herself where a couple's portrait should be, refusing to believe it was real. A wave of panic crashed over her, suffocating her. Her hand holding the paper was clenched so tight her knuckles were white, her eyes wide with disbelief and fury. After taking several deep breaths, Chloe let out a sharp, disbelieving laugh. Mom, is this some kind of joke? You and Ethan have never gotten along. Why would you suddenly help him pull a prank on me? Did you actually forge a divorce certificate? Stop it. Where is Ethan? Tell him to come out. His father's condition is critical. We can't afford to wait. The sooner he gets the transplant, the sooner he'll recover. This is not the time for games. She tossed the decree into the trash can, her face a mask of incredulity. Mrs. Sterling frowned. Chloe, I'm not helping Ethan lie to you. It's the truth. You are divorced, and his father has passed away. Believe it or not. Now I have matters to attend to. I will begin selecting suitable young men from good families for you to meet. We need to arrange a proper marriage alliance so we can finally have some peace of mind. At her words, Chloe's expression hardened. I'm not going on any dates. Mom, the Sterling family is not so desperate that we need a marriage alliance to stay afloat. I won't give any of those rich boys a second look. And since I never agreed to a divorce, it's not final. She spoke with an authority that defied argument. Her mother didn't bother to debate the point, simply rising to her feet. You'll come to realize that a strategic marriage is your best option. I'll wait for you to come to your senses. With that, Mrs. Sterling walked out without a backward glance. Chloe rubbed her temples in frustration, her gaze fixed on the decree in the trash can. Felt hard to breathe. The official seal looked real, but she simply couldn't believe Ethan would divorce her. And as for her mother's claim that his father was dead, that was even more unbelievable. With her brow furrowed in concentration, Chloe searched the entire house for any sign of Ethan. Ethan? Ethan, stop this. Your father is in the hospital waiting for a transplant. You were so worried about him. Why aren't you worried now? This isn't funny anymore. I know you're upset about what happened, but this is not the time. She kept searching, calling his name, her voice echoing in the empty rooms. But after checking every corner of the house, there was no sign of Ethan and no answer to her calls. The more she looked, the more her panic grew. The house felt strangely empty. All of Ethan's things were gone. It was as if he had vanished into thin air, as if he had never existed at all. A sickening unease settled in her stomach. Her lips pressed into a thin, hard line, her face grim. She pulled out her phone and called her assistant. Find out where Ethan is. I want to know immediately. And send someone to the hospital to check on his father's condition. If he's still alive, schedule the surgery right away. Her assistant immediately got to work. The wait felt endless to Chloe, every second stretching into an eternity. A terrible thought began to form in her mind, one she couldn't push away. Couldn't be true. Her mother must have been in on it with Ethan, some kind of twisted joke they'd cooked up together. Ethan would never divorce her. His father would be fine. She repeated these lies to herself until her assistant called back with the results of his investigation. The assistant's voice was hesitant. Ms. Sterling, Mr. Hayes left the country on a flight this morning. Your mother helped him erase all his travel records, so we can't track his exact location. And also, hearing him stammer, Chloe's patience snapped. Spit it out, Mark. Whatever it is, just say it, or it's coming out of your next paycheck. That did the trick. The words came rushing out. Ms. Sterling, Mr. Hayes's father. He died on the operating table a month ago. After they wiped out his immune system for the transplant, he never received the new marrow. He died from an infection. The assistant's words hit her like a physical blow, shattering her thoughts into a million pieces. How is that possible? How could Ethan's father be dead? I hired the best doctors to look after him. There are precedents for this. As long as he was properly cared for after the immune suppression, he should have been fine. How could this happen? Mark, did Ethan pay you off? Are you in on this act with him? Enough! Stop the charade! She screamed, her voice raw and her eyes bloodshot. The truth was laid bare, but she refused to accept it. Or rather, she couldn't dare to. If it was all true, it meant that a month ago, she had indirectly killed Ethan's father. The thought alone was unbearable. Mark felt utterly wronged. Ms. Sterling, I swear I wasn't. I work for you. How could I possibly be bribed by Mr. Hayes? It's the truth that his father passed away. I have no reason to lie to you. Chloe listened in silence, her heart sinking into a black abyss. After a long pause, she mumbled a non-committal humph and ended the call. At some point, she had retrieved the divorce decree from the trash. She stared at her own photo on the document, her mind a million miles away. The memory of their wedding day was still vivid in her mind. Marrying the man she loved had been the happiest moment of Chloe's life. She hadn't cared about Ethan's background. She had simply loved him and wanted to spend forever with him. Neither of them had ever imagined they would end up here. The word divorce was a dagger in Chloe's heart. She stroked a photo of Ethan on her phone, a silent sob catching in her throat. I'm sorry, Ethan. I'm so sorry. I didn't know your father was that sick. If I had known, I never would have let it drag on like this. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She repeated the apology over and over, blaming herself. She had even forgotten that Ethan had told her explicitly that day that his father was in critical condition, that the doctors had said he could go at any moment. But at the time, her only focus had been on comforting and coddling Leo. If she had just gone to the surgical wing to see for herself, she would have understood the gravity of the situation. But she hadn't. Chloe was filled with guilt and regret, but it was a guilt born from the fact that Ethan was gone. Lying in their bed, she couldn't sleep. His scent still lingered on the pillows, but he himself had vanished. She had played a part in his father's death. Could he ever truly forgive her? Chloe had no idea. She lay awake all night, staring at the ceiling until the sun came up, and after a full night of agonizing, she still couldn't think of a single way to get Ethan back. But she couldn't just sit and wait any longer. Exhausted, Chloe drove to her family's estate and confronted her mother. Mom, tell me where Ethan is. I can't live without him. I don't care about any other man, no matter how perfect he is. I only want Ethan. We've been married for years. Our relationship was so strong. Why did you have to drive him away? I made a mistake, I know, but if I can just apologize, he'll forgive me. He always does. But now he's gone, and I don't even have the chance to make it right. If you want to see me end up alone, unmarried and childless, then by all means, keep this up, she threatened, her eyes dark. Her mother found this laughable and let out a derisive snort. Chloe, I didn't drive Ethan away. He came to me. He was the one who wanted the divorce. Do you really think, after all this, that he would ever forgive you? Don't be absurd. As she spoke, she pulled a thick file from her briefcase and slapped it down on the table in front of Chloe. It was filled with dossiers on eligible bachelors from prominent families. Ethan's feelings for you are gone. I don't care what happened between you two. It's over. The Sterling family needs a suitable heir, born from a union with a man of equal standing. Pick one. These have all been carefully vetted. They are the best of the best. The thick stack of profiles contained men of every type, and there were even a few who bore a passing resemblance to Ethan. Chloe gave the files a cursory glance and felt a surge of irritation. With a sharp, tearing sound, she ripped the entire stack in half. Mom, I told you, I don't want another man. I will not have a child with anyone else. I will only ever have children with Ethan. Stop doing these pointless things. Ethan loves me. I refuse to believe he came to you on his own. Just tell me where he is. Her mother, now more amused than angry, simply pulled out her phone and played a video. It was security footage from a coffee shop, showing the entire conversation between her and Ethan. Watching the video, Chloe was rendered speechless, her lips pressed into a thin, hard line. Do you see now? I let you have your marriage. I had given up on trying to separate you. It was Ethan who lost hope in you. He came to me. Mrs. Sterling raised an eyebrow nonchalantly before producing another identical stack of files and placing it in front of her. You can tear these up as many times as you like. You'll have to look at them eventually. Ethan doesn't love you anymore. He was never suitable for you. It's time to make a different choice. Unless you choose a suitable husband from a good family, I will not tell you where Ethan is. You can think it over. At this, a shadow fell over Chloe's face. After a long silence, she stared at her mother and said, enunciating every word, Mother, are you happy in your strategic marriage? I don't think so. You've lived your life this way, so what right do you have to force the same on me? With my abilities, I can elevate the Sterling family status without a marriage alliance. You and Father don't need to worry. I will not do as you say. It's always the ones closest to you who know exactly how to hurt you the most. The cold mask on her mother's face cracked, revealing a rare flicker of vulnerability in her eyes. It was true. Her own marriage was far from happy. She and Chloe's father led separate lives, their marriage a mere merger of two family empires, their child a product of that merger, meant only to strengthen the dynasty. Even if she had been unwilling, she had no choice. As a beneficiary of the system, she was bound by its rules. She had given Chloe her chance at a love match, and in the end, it had fallen apart just like any other marriage. Love always ended the same way, but a business arrangement was built to last. Mrs. Sterling closed her eyes for a moment, and when she opened them again, her cold composure was back in place. Chloe, I am informing you, not asking for your permission. I will be arranging a meeting for you in a few days, she said, her tone final. Chloe's face darkened, her eyes narrowing to slits. Mom, you're going to regret this. With that, she turned and walked away without another word. Chloe drove aimlessly through the city streets, watching the couples walking hand in hand, a hollow ache in her chest. Then her phone rang. A surge of hope made her pull over and grab the phone, but the moment she saw the caller ID, that hope died. It wasn't Ethan, it was Leo. She frowned, an inexplicable wave of irritation washing over her, but she answered anyway. What is it? Her cold tone seemed to startle Leo for a moment before he recovered, his voice soft. Chloe, how is Mr. Hayes' father doing? I guess he doesn't need my bone marrow anymore, right? And that secretarial position you mentioned, is that still on the table? I haven't seen you in a couple of days. I kind of miss you. Before, Chloe would have said she missed him too, but now, she just wasn't in the mood. She pinched the bridge of her nose in annoyance, trying to keep her voice even. You don't need to concern yourself with Ethan's father anymore, and we'll have to postpone the discussion about the secretary position. I'm very busy right now and I don't have time to entertain you. You should get some rest. She was about to hang up when Leo quickly interjected. Chloe, did I do something wrong? Or did Mr. Hayes say something to you? I don't want anything. I just don't want to be away from you. He spoke in a cloying tone, his words laced with a hint of flirtation. Chloe frowned. Something about his words felt off, but she didn't comment on it. Ethan didn't say anything about you. I'm just busy. That's all. I have to go. She hung up abruptly and drove off to hire someone to find Ethan. One investigator wasn't enough. She decided to call in a major favor, placing a call to the powerful Kane family, seeking the help of its matriarch. Ms. Kane, this is Chloe Sterling. I need your help finding my husband, Ethan Hayes. I've sent you all his information. My family and my mother's family, the Lockwoods, are actively working against me. You're the only one I can turn to. On the other end of the line, Jade Kane glanced at the photo of Ethan with an amused expression. She didn't say yes, but she didn't say no. Chloe Sterling, I can try, but there are no guarantees I'll find him. Besides, my services come at a price. I wonder what you're prepared to offer. If you can find Ethan and bring him to me, you can have half of the mining rights the Sterling family just acquired, Chloe said without a moment's hesitation, her heart pounding with anxiety. She feared that the longer she waited, the colder Ethan would become, and the smaller her chances of ever getting him back. Jade Kane clicked her tongue. I hope you're a woman of your word. Make sure the deposit is in my account by morning. With that, she hung up. Chloe wasn't offended. She knew Jade's personality. They had worked together before, and she knew what to expect. After making that arrangement, Chloe hired several other top private investigation firms as well. It didn't matter who found him, as long as he was found. She was past the point of caring about appearances. Days turned into a week, and still, there was no news of Ethan's whereabouts. Then, one of the PI firms called with some information Chloe hadn't been aware of. Ms. Sterling, while we haven't located Mr. Hayes, we did uncover this. This is security footage from a corner of the auction house. This is from the parking garage of the hotel where the birthday party was held. And this, we came across these while searching for Mr. Hayes. We thought they might be of use to you. You should watch them. Chloe frowned, taking the laptop. I already know what happened in these incidents. I don't need to see. Her words died in her throat as she saw footage she had never imagined. How could this be? In the stairwell at the auction, the boy she thought was so innocent and sweet shoved Ethan violently down the stairs. In the parking garage, it was Leo who had been harassing Ethan, even throwing himself in front of the car. And at the hospital, it was Leo who had deliberately provoked Ethan and smashed his father's watch. Every single incident was the complete opposite of what Chloe had believed to be true. Her pupils constricted as she watched the videos again and again in disbelief. Leo, you little bastard, she snarled, her hands on the desk clenched so tightly her knuckles cracked. All this time, she had seen Leo as innocent and pitiful, defending him at every turn. And what had he done? If he hadn't tormented Ethan like this, Ethan never would have left her. A wave of regret washed over her. For this boy, she had let Ethan's father die. She took several deep breaths, struggling to contain her fury. Then, with a grim expression, she called Leo, her voice chillingly calm. Leo, get to the North Houston PI office. Now. Leo was confused. Chloe, why do you want me to go there? A flicker of unease went through him, and he instinctively tried to get out of it. Chloe, I'm busy studying how to be a good secretary. North Houston is so far away. Can I maybe not go? No, I've already sent someone to pick you up, she said, her tone leaving no room for argument, and hung up before he could protest. A short time later, her bodyguards arrived with Leo in tow, unceremoniously dumping him on the floor. Ms. Sterling, we've brought him. Leo clutched his scraped arm, his face flashing with anger before he quickly lowered his head, his voice full of feigned hurt. Chloe, I'm hurt. Why were your bodyguards so rough with me? He held out his reddened arm for her to inspect. But there was no pity in Chloe's eyes, only cold fury. Leo, you feel pain when you're hurt? Did you ever stop to think about Ethan? When you pushed him down the stairs, when you lied about him and got him hurt, did you ever think that he felt pain too? Ethan and I took care of you, we were so good to you, we even let you back out of the donation. Why did you have to be such an ungrateful snake? She screamed, her eyes boring into him. Leo trembled, his face ashen. No, it wasn't me, Chloe. You have to believe me. It's a misunderstanding. I'm so grateful to you and Mr. Hayes. I would never hurt him. It was Mr. Hayes who was always angry with me, who resented me for not donating to his father. He was the one who bullied me. I could handle that, but how can you misunderstand me like this? His eyes grew red as he spoke. A misunderstanding? Chloe sneered, grabbing him by the collar and shoving his face toward the laptop screen. Then tell me what this is. Is it fake? Leo, I am not a fool. The moment he saw the footage, all the color drained from Leo's face. His lips trembled. I don't know. It's fake. Ethan must have edited it. Chloe, I would never do those things. You have to believe me. He clutched at her sleeve, his eyes pleading. But Chloe had lost all patience. She threw him to the ground. You framed and hurt Ethan time and time again. Now it's time for you to pay. Bodyguards, begin. She spoke in a frigid tone and closed her eyes, a wave of disappointment washing over her. One of the bodyguards produced a barbed whip and brought it down hard across Leo's back. Again and again, the whip fell, tearing through his shirt and into his skin. He screamed until his voice was raw, the pain causing a cold sweat to break out on his forehead. Blood streamed from the wounds, pooling on the floor beneath him. Chloe stood with her back to the scene, her eyes closed, ignoring his cries. Leo was on the verge of passing out from the pain. He propped himself up on his bloodied hands and began to crawl toward her. "Chloe, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I was just confused. Please let me go. Please. I'll apologize to Mr. Hayes. He can take as much marrow as he wants for his father. I can't take any more of this, Chloe." His voice grew faint, his pleas pathetic. Before, the slightest injury to Leo would have sent Chloe rushing to his side, but not anymore. Now she felt nothing. If it weren't for him, Ethan would never have left. It was Leo who had caused Ethan so much pain. It was Leo who had wronged him. Chloe told herself this lie, as if torturing Leo could somehow lessen her own guilt. No matter how much he begged, she pretended not to hear, letting the punishment continue. Couldn't be helped. This was the price he had to pay for what he did to Ethan. If she didn't do this, Ethan would never come back to her. After what felt like an eternity, Leo was beaten unconscious, his body a mess of torn flesh and blood. Staring at her unforgiving back, his heart turned to ash, and he finally stopped pleading. He didn't understand. Just a few days ago, everything had been so different. Chloe had doted on him, spoiled him. They had been so close to becoming something more. If it hadn't been for Ethan, they might have already been together. But now it was all over. Leo closed his eyes in despair and let the darkness take him. If he could, he would never wake up again. At least then the suffering would end. Waking up would only mean more of the same. Only when the bodyguards were dragging Leo away to be treated did Chloe finally turn around. Her eyes rested on the pool of blood on the floor for a moment before she looked away. "This is for your services, and a bonus for the information you found." She left a credit card on the table and walked out. Leaving the PI office, she drove to a flower shop and bought a bouquet of white chrysanthemums, then to a market for some fruit and other traditional offerings. She took everything to the cemetery where Ethan's father was buried. After arranging the items before the headstone, Chloe knelt and bowed her head to the ground 3 times. "I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't take good care of Ethan. I broke my promise to you. It's my fault you weren't saved. My fault you had to leave this world." She spoke each word from the depths of her soul, then slapped herself hard across the face. The force of the blow left a red mark on her cheek and split her lip. The only answer was the whisper of the wind. She looked up at the photograph on the headstone, her heart aching with guilt. In the black and white picture, his illness had made him look thin and frail, but his eyes and smile were still kind and gentle, as if he could forgive any transgression. Chloe remembered the first time Ethan had taken her home to meet him. She had been so nervous, but his father had been nothing but kind. He had simply made her promise, again and again, to be good to Ethan, or else he would never forgive her, even if it cost him his life. At the time, Chloe had promised without hesitation, confident that she would love Ethan forever and always treat him well. Having witnessed her own parents' disastrous marriage, she had always been so careful when it came to her own. But now, it seemed she had lost that sincerity somewhere along the way. She asked herself honestly, were her feelings for Leo truly just concern for a bone marrow donor? No, they weren't. The other donor she had found later, she had compensated him generously with money and connections, but it was nothing like how she had treated Leo. In the end, she had broken her promise. It was only now, after Ethan was truly gone, that she felt the full weight of her regret. She didn't want him to leave. She didn't want a divorce. She couldn't imagine a future without him in it. She regretted ever letting herself feel anything for Leo, but it was too late to take any of it back. Smack. She slapped herself again, hard. "This is for Ethan," she whispered. "For all the mistakes I made that drove him away. I'm sorry. I will do everything I can to make it up to you, and to him. Please just let me find him soon. And I swear, I will not let anyone who ever hurt him get away with it." She stayed there for a long time, talking to the cold stone, until her legs were completely numb before she finally rose to leave. Back at the house, Chloe took a handful of sleeping pills, but sleep wouldn't come. Her eyes were bloodshot with dark circles underneath. Her body was exhausted, but her mind refused to shut down. She began to search the house frantically, desperate to find something, anything, that Ethan had left behind. But she found nothing. Everything connected to him was gone. Even his scent, which had lingered on their bed, had finally faded away. Ethan, I miss you so much. I'm so sorry. Please just come back and see me. Just once. Just one look." She whispered into the empty house, but there was no reply. Days turned into weeks, and still, there was no trace of Ethan. None of the investigators, not even Jade Kane, could find him. A wave of despair threatened to drown her. The anxiety and longing were driving her mad. With nowhere else to direct her rage and frustration, Chloe went to the hospital to see Leo. When he saw her enter his room, he instinctively flinched. "Chloe, I'll never do anything to Mr. Hayes again, I swear. Please, just let me go." "Let you go? Who's going to let me go? Who's going to bring Ethan back to me?" Chloe's eyes were black with rage, her voice a low growl. "You enjoyed my financial support. You received generous compensation. It's time you fulfilled your end of the bargain. The debt you owe to Ethan and to his father is coming due." At her words, Leo's heart sank. He had heard the news in the past few days about the divorce and about Ethan's father's death. He had thought that a few sessions of torture, a way to atone for how he had treated Ethan, would be the end of it. He never imagined she would still make him go through with the bone marrow donation. He couldn't bear the thought of that pain. Leo scrambled backward on the bed, trying to get away. "I don't want to donate, Chloe. It hurts so much. Please, just let me go this one time. I'll apologize to Mr. Hayes and his father. His father is already gone. No one needs the marrow anymore. Please, let me go." He was trembling with fear, his voice hoarse from pleading. "No," Chloe said, her voice devoid of any emotion. Any trace of affection or pity she once felt for him had vanished the moment she learned how he had tormented Ethan. She stared at the cowering boy with nothing but ice in her veins. "Do it. The debt to Ethan and his father will be paid." At her command, doctors and nurses approached the bed, held Leo down, and administered an anesthetic before wheeling him off to the operating room. The voluntary procedure had begun. In the operating room, Leo's agonized cries echoed off the tiled walls. The pain of the extraction was excruciating. When the surgery was over, he felt utterly depleted, his body weak and broken. But Chloe didn't spare him a single glance. She and her bodyguards simply left, abandoning him in the hospital to fend for himself. Her final order was clear. As of today, all of Leo's funding is to be cut off completely. From now on, he has nothing to do with the Sterling family. Hearing this, Leo completely broke down, sobbing into his hospital pillow. It was all gone. The money, the luxury, the affection, all of it had vanished. He stared blankly at the wall, muttering to himself. Just then, the door to his room swung open. "Chloe?" he whispered, a flicker of hope that she had come back for him. But it wasn't Chloe. It was a plainly dressed, middle-aged couple. His parents. Smack. His mother's hand connected sharply with his cheek. "Leo, what did you promise us when we sent you to the Sterlings? You said you'd give us money, that you'd make sure we had a good life. You even said you might marry into the family. And now it's all gone. There are people at home waiting for your money just to eat. Your brother is counting on you for his college tuition, for a down payment on a house. What are we supposed to do now?" They screamed at him, pointing in his face, calling him every foul name they could think of. Listening to their tirade, Leo's despair deepened. He had tried so hard. Why had it all come to this? Why couldn't he ever escape this family? He lowered his head and said nothing, letting their insults wash over him. It didn't matter anymore. Things couldn't possibly get any worse. He silently endured their verbal abuse until they grew tired of it. Finally, his father issued an ultimatum. "Leo, you have 3 days to get us $300,000. If you get us the money, we'll pretend you were never born. If you don't, we'll sell you to the cartels to make our money back." At this, a dark, dangerous look flashed in Leo's eyes. He had received a lot of money from Chloe, but his parents had taken almost all of it. He had next to nothing left. Where was he supposed to get that kind of money? Fine. If they weren't going to be a family, then he would be the one to cut ties first. "Okay, I understand. I'll get the money as fast as I can. Just give me a little time," he said, feigning fear. His parents didn't suspect a thing, assuming he was the same spineless, obedient boy he'd always been. They left, humming to themselves. The moment they were gone, Leo used the last of his money to hire a car, checked himself out of the hospital against medical advice, and, ignoring his injuries, bought a one-way ticket on the next international flight. He never looked back. The next day, when his parents returned to the hospital to harass him for the money, they were met instead by a nurse holding a thick stack of medical bills. "You're Leo's parents, correct? This is the outstanding balance for his hospital stay. Please settle it as soon as possible." They refused and tried to leave, but were stopped by hospital security. They weren't released until the entire bill was paid, a decision they immediately and bitterly regretted. Meanwhile, Leo, now in a foreign country with no money, no education, and no skills, struggled to survive, taking whatever odd jobs he could find. When Chloe heard what had become of Leo, she felt nothing. It didn't matter. His debt was paid. He was no longer her concern. All she wanted was to find Ethan. Seeing Chloe spend day after day searching for Ethan, skipping countless arranged dates in the process, Mrs. Sterling finally lost her patience. She arranged for a young man to be hired at Chloe's company as her new personal assistant. He was tall, over 6 feet, dressed in a tailored white shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, revealing strong forearms. He carried a cup of coffee as he quietly entered Chloe's office and approached her desk. "Miss Sterling," he said in a low voice, "I'm your new assistant. You can call me Julian." Hearing the name, Chloe, absorbed in her work, froze. She looked up, the name Ethan on the tip of her tongue, but the word died before it could be spoken. "Who are you? What are you doing here? I don't need a personal assistant. Go back to whoever sent you and get out of my office." Her face was a thundercloud as she slapped the coffee from his hand, not caring that the hot liquid scalded his skin. She immediately called security to have him removed. When the guards arrived, the color drained from Julian's face. He had never expected such a hostile reception. He quickly tried to intervene. "Chloe, your mother sent me. She said she was very impressed with me, that she thought we would be a good match and wanted us to get to know each other. Surely you can't just disregard your own mother's wishes." Taking her silence as a sign of acquiescence, Julian continued, "I know you've been married before, but I don't mind. You're an exceptional woman. Once we're together, all I ask is that you forget about your ex-husband and devote yourself completely to me." Mrs. Sterling said she hopes we hit it off and get married soon. "What do you think?" He smiled, looking at her expectantly. But Chloe's face was growing darker by the second, the atmosphere in the room becoming heavy and oppressive. Suddenly, a dangerous smile spread across her lips. "Fine." Before Julian could even register his delight, her expression turned to stone. "If you want to get married, go propose to that old woman, my mother. Or, if you're open to it, I could arrange for you to be sent to my father's bed. It's all the same to the Sterling family, isn't it?" The color drained from Julian's face. He let out a choked, awkward laugh and quickly backed away. No, thank you. I'm not worthy. We shouldn't see each other again." With that, he fled the office as if his life depended on it. Chloe's dark eyes followed him out the door, her expression terrifyingly blank. Thump, she slammed her fist down on the desk. "Well done," she hissed, the words barely escaping her throat. "Mom, Dad, since you love arranging dates so much, you can have all the ones I've got lined up." For the next several days, Chloe arranged for a parade of handsome men and beautiful women to be sent to her parents, using every trick in the book to ensure they were as disruptive as possible. Finally, her mother couldn't take it anymore. She stormed into Chloe's office, and the sharp crack of a slap echoed through the room. "You ungrateful child. If you're so against these arrangements, fine, I'll give you what you want. You want to know where Ethan is? I'll tell you. I just hope you don't regret it when you find him." "Don't worry, Mother. I won't regret it," Chloe said firmly. Her mother just sneered, thinking to herself that Chloe's confidence would likely evaporate once she arrived in the States. She knew what Ethan had been through, but she had no intention of telling her daughter. She casually pulled up an address and sent it to Chloe's phone. "Ethan is currently living in the Northern District of Houston. You can find the exact location yourself. I won't arrange any more dates for you. I'll just wait for the day you come crawling back, begging me to," she said coldly, watching her daughter's reaction with a detached amusement. Hearing the location, Chloe's brow furrowed. "Houston? How could he be in Houston? Are you joking with me? Did you send the wrong address? I had people searching for him. He's not in the country. Otherwise, how could Jade Kane have not found him?" Her mother scoffed. "I didn't send the wrong address. Why don't you go and see for yourself? Besides, do you really think she was ever truly trying to help you?" Her face was a mask of scorn. Seeing the shocked disbelief on Chloe's face, her mother felt a surge of vindictive satisfaction. Her work here was done. She picked up her purse and left. Chloe was left alone, consumed by a sudden, crippling doubt. An impossible thought began to take root in her mind. Had Jade been lying to her from the very beginning? Had Jade agreed to help her for the mining rights? Or was it because of Ethan himself? For some reason, Chloe couldn't bring herself to consider the implications. She just kept repeating to herself, "Impossible. It's absolutely impossible. Ethan only loves me. He would never fall for someone else. Besides, Jade and Ethan have never even met. How could they possibly know each other? It must have just been a blind spot. Jade was simply incompetent and missed him." Having convinced herself, Chloe quickly packed a bag and booked the first flight to Houston. The city was sprawling, and its northern district was vast. Searching for one person there without a specific address would be like finding a needle in a haystack, especially since Chloe had never been there before. She quickly sent a message to Jade, asking for her address in the city, planning to use her connections to help with the search. Just because Jade had failed didn't mean she would. An inexplicable urgency gripped her, her heart pounding in her chest, telling her to hurry, before it was too late. Hours passed with no reply from Jade. At that very moment, Jade was wrapped around me, her lips on mine. Her kiss was hungry, passionate, as if she wanted to devour me whole. After a long moment, she finally pulled away. My face was flushed, and looking at her, still pressed against me, breathing softly, I could feel the heat rise in my own cheeks. Her warm breath on my collarbone sent a shiver down my spine. I shifted uncomfortably, trying to create a little space between us. "What's gotten into you today? You're acting wild." But Jade just pressed her forehead against mine, our breaths mingling. With a wounded look in her eyes, she pulled out her phone and showed me the message. "Ethan, your ex-wife is here. She wants to use my resources to find you. Tell me, do you want to see her?" I was stunned. I never thought that after 4 months, Chloe would still be looking for me. I had assumed that after the divorce, she would either give in to her family's wishes and marry someone from a suitable family, or she would end up with Leo, defying her family once again. After a moment's thought, I shook my head. "Jade, I don't want to see her. I don't want her anywhere near me. Seeing her just brings it all back. It just reminds me that my father is dead because of how she coddled Leo. If we had never found a donor in the first place, and my father had passed away, I could have accepted that. I would have spent his last days with him in peace. But she found a perfect match. She found Leo, and being nice to him was one thing, but to let my father die on the operating table because that boy was scared? As long as that fact remains, I can never, ever forgive her." I choked on the words, my eyes turning red. Just the thought of Chloe's face brought back the image of my father, dying alone and in despair. I had left to get away from her, to never see her again. I had left because I was powerless to do anything about what she had done. So why is she looking for me now? I don't want to see her. Seeing how adamant I was, Jade knew what to do. She sent back a dismissive reply. "I'm not in the country at the moment. Most of my resources are tied up. I don't have time to help you search. I'll honor our agreement eventually, but not right now." After sending the message, she turned off her phone and tossed it aside, not caring in the slightest how Chloe might react. She just pulled me close, holding me tight, savoring the quiet moment between us. "Don't worry," she whispered. "As long as you don't want to see her, I will never let her get near you. And if you ever decide you want revenge, I'll be right here to help. For now, just try to let it go. Don't let what happened in the past keep hurting you." Listening to the steady rhythm of her heartbeat, I slowly began to relax. But I couldn't stop myself from asking the question that had been on my mind. "Jade, why are you so good to me?" When I first arrived in the States, I was completely lost. I had money, but I was in a strange place with no direction. I felt like a stranger in a strange land, a guest in someone else's home. I tried to build a new life, but something was always missing. Then one day, the little old lady who lived next door moved out, and Jade moved in. And my life changed completely. She was stunningly beautiful, her features a perfect work of art, but she was also incredibly kind. She would bring over food she'd cooked, help me with little things around the house, give me advice on job interviews, and help me with local customs and slang. We grew closer and closer. Then one day, I landed a huge project at work and was celebrating at home with a bottle of whiskey. I had a little too much to drink, and Jade happened to stop by to drop something off just as I was passing out. She found me asleep on the floor and, worried, helped me into bed. She was just about to leave when I subconsciously grabbed her hand, refusing to let her go. Caught off guard, she lost her balance and fell onto the bed with me on top of her. Our eyes met, and in my drunken haze, I don't know who moved first, but suddenly we were kissing, a tangle of lips and limbs, the rest of the world fading away. The next morning, I woke up with a massive headache and the woman from next door lying beside me. Even though we had only kissed, we had definitely crossed a line. When Jade woke up, the first thing I said was, "Jade, let's just forget last night ever happened." Instantly, her expression darkened, her eyes flashing with a possessive fire. "No," she said, her voice firm. She laced her fingers through mine, her grip tight, and stared directly into my eyes. "Ethan, I don't want to forget. Last night was my first kiss. My family believes in devotion and commitment. You kissed me. You have to take responsibility." I couldn't meet her intense gaze and stammered, but I've been married before. This isn't a good idea. Besides, it was just a kiss. We can pretend it never happened. I'll forget all about it. As long as you don't say anything, no one will ever know. Your reputation will be intact. The more I talked, the less convincing I sounded, even to myself. Jade knew she was moving fast, but she wasn't going to let this opportunity slip away. She relentlessly insisted that I had to take responsibility, saying she didn't care that I had been married before. She was persistent, wearing me down day after day. And she was right. The fact that I had kissed her meant I wasn't entirely indifferent. After what felt like an eternity of her persistence, I finally gave in, and just like that, we were together. I didn't think about the future. After everything with Chloe, I wasn't ready to even think about marriage again. I just wanted to live in the moment. After all, who knows what the future holds? I once believed with all my heart that Chloe loved me and only me. But then Leo came along and everything changed. If Chloe couldn't stay true, how could I be sure Jade would? Marriage was too big a risk. If it hadn't been for Mrs. Sterling's hatred of me, I might never have gotten free of Chloe. And Jade's background was clearly just as formidable. I couldn't risk going through that again. Jade had admitted that she knew Chloe, that Chloe had hired her to find me. But I never understood why she had abandoned that contract. Jade always said it was because she liked me, but I found that hard to believe. Even for love at first sight, it all felt too sudden. That's why I had to ask her why she was being so good to me. Jade seemed to understand my anxiety, and she decided to tell me everything. Ethan, I haven't been lying to you. The truth is, from the moment I took Chloe's case, I never had any intention of handing you over to her for a profit. I had already fallen for you long before you ever knew it. Her words caught me completely by surprise. I racked my brain, trying to remember if we had ever met before. But with her unforgettable face and formidable presence, I was sure I would have remembered. Before I could ask, she explained, "You've never officially met me, but I've seen you many, many times. Years ago, there was some turmoil in my family, and I was sent here to study. I didn't want to draw attention to myself, so I was always quiet and withdrawn, hiding behind my long hair. I was struggling with my studies, and your father was my tutor. He was so patient and kind, and he taught me so much. You were always there, playing nearby, and sometimes you would even help him teach me. Later, I had to go back to take over the family business. If I hadn't, I would have stayed by your side, and I never would have given Chloe the chance to get near you." As she spoke, a hard, hateful look entered her eyes. She took a few deep breaths to compose herself before continuing. "When I heard you got married, I didn't want to interfere in your life, so I stayed away. I never imagined a day would come when you would be divorced and leaving the country. The moment I got the message from Chloe, I was ecstatic. I found you as fast as I could, and I stayed by your side, trying to get to know you, just like you did with me all those years ago. I love you, Ethan, and I just want you to love me back." I was stunned. I never would have imagined that the powerful, confident woman in front of me was the same shy, quiet girl from all those years ago. The transformation was so complete, it was hard to believe they were the same person. So all this time, in a corner of the world I knew nothing about, Jade had been in love with me, and I felt completely unworthy of that love. I lowered my head, a knot of insecurity tightening in my stomach. Jade seemed to read my mind and pulled me into a tight hug. "Ethan, I don't care about your past. I know you're scared and worried, but I want to help you move on from all that pain and start a new life. I just want you by my side. It doesn't matter if we get married or not. And if I ever do anything to hurt you, I want you to be strong enough to walk away and never look back. I just want you to be happy and to never let anyone hurt you again. So don't feel insecure, and don't worry. If you want revenge on Chloe, then we'll get revenge. Whatever you want to do, I'm with you." I pulled her into my arms, burying my face in her neck, and for the first time in a long time, I let myself cry. After my father died, there was no one left to love and protect me unconditionally. Even Chloe, the person who had once loved me more than anyone, had become my tormentor. I hadn't dared to cry. I couldn't let myself. But now, in her arms, I finally let it all out. It was time to move on. I knew that all my previous attempts at indifference had just been an act. Even after leaving the country, everything that had happened with Chloe still haunted me. I hadn't truly been myself since. But now I was finally starting to wake up. The people who hurt me, only after they've paid for what they did can I truly heal and be myself again. After a long silence, I wiped my tears and looked up at her. "Jade, thank you for being here for me. I want you to help me get revenge on Chloe. I want to make her feel the same pain she made me feel. And then, I want to let her go and forget her forever. Whatever you want." The next day, Jade sent a message to Chloe. It was just an address: the Corner Cafe, North Houston. Chloe quickly replied with a single question mark. "Jade, what is this?" "It's a meeting. I found Ethan." Reading those words, Chloe was overcome with a delirious joy. She hadn't seen Ethan in over 4 months. Every single day since they'd been apart, his face had filled her thoughts. She missed him desperately. She couldn't live without him, and now she was finally going to see him again. She didn't stop to wonder why Jade, who had claimed to be out of the country and busy just yesterday, was suddenly able to produce Ethan. All she could think about was preparing for their reunion. She tried on countless outfits before finally settling on the perfect one, having it pressed and laid out for the morning. She ordered flowers and had a gift wrapped and ready. Only when every detail was perfect could she finally allow herself to rest. Tomorrow, this nightmare would be over. She would bring Ethan home. For the first time in months, Chloe slept soundly. The next morning, she dressed, gathered her gifts, and drove to the cafe as fast as she could. She waited for what felt like an eternity, but Ethan never showed. For a fleeting moment, she wondered if Jade had been lying to her. She was just about to send an angry text when the bell over the cafe door chimed. The sound was crisp and clear. She had booked the entire cafe for them, so it had to be Ethan. Her heart swelled with joy as she mentally rehearsed the apology she had practiced 1,000 times. But it wasn't just Ethan who walked through the door. He was holding hands with Jade, their fingers intertwined, a small smile on his face as they walked toward her table. A bucket of ice water seemed to dump over Chloe's head, the shock so cold it felt like it stopped her heart. Ethan, what is this? You and her. She forced her lips into a pained smile, her hand on the table clenching into a fist so tight her knuckles were white. She looked like she was about to lunge across the table and slap Jade. My expression was neutral as I calmly held up my intertwined hand with Jade's. Can't you tell? We're together now. Is there something you needed? The sight of our joined hands was like a physical blow to Chloe. Her heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice, the pain making it hard to breathe. After taking a ragged breath, she asked, her voice a hoarse whisper, I never agreed to the divorce. How can you be with her? Do you have any idea why she's with you? It's all for personal gain. You need to wake up, she said, her voice sharp, her eyes boring into mine. But Jade cut her off. Chloe, the Kane family fortune is firmly in my control. I have no need for whatever scraps of profit you could offer me. I only agreed to your ridiculous proposal because I found your desperation amusing. Ethan and I are in love. We came here today to warn you, stay away from us. We find your presence distasteful. No, Ethan, she's joking, right? Chloe's eyes were dark, devoid of light, but she forced a smile to her lips. Before I could answer, she grabbed my hand and tried to pull me toward the door. Come with me. We're going home. We'll get remarried. We'll pretend today never happened. We'll just call it a bad joke. I know you're angry about your father and about Leo. I'll make it all up to you, I swear. Not even my mother can keep us apart. She ignored my struggles, trying to drag me away. Let go of me. I ripped my hand from her grasp and slapped her hard across the face. I stopped loving you a long time ago. From the moment my father died because of you, the only thing I've felt for you is hate. I'm happy with Jade now. Why on earth would I go back with you? Don't be ridiculous. The slap landed not just on her face, but deep in her heart. A sharp, searing pain spread through Chloe's chest, as if her heart was being dissolved in acid. After a long silence, she finally whispered, I'm sorry. I truly know I was wrong. It was the first time the proud, untouchable woman had ever lowered her head in defeat. But I didn't care. Jade let out a sarcastic laugh. Chloe, if sorry fixed everything, we wouldn't need prisons, would we? Do you have any idea how much you made Ethan suffer? If you're truly sorry, then maybe you should experience a little of that pain for yourself before you come here talking about apologies. As she spoke, she waved her hand, and a group of bodyguards surrounded Chloe. But she didn't give them the order to attack. Instead, she looked at me. Should they do it? I said, my voice flat. Chloe's eyes were red as she stared at me. Ethan, if this is what you want, then I won't fight back. Let them do whatever you want. Consider it my penance. She closed her eyes and waited. I grabbed her by the collar. Remember this, I snarled. This is me punishing you. This is not you atoning for your sins. I don't want your penance. I let go, and she crumpled to the floor. Chloe didn't resist. She just let out a soft okay and let the bodyguard's fists rain down on her. She grunted in pain, curling into a ball on the floor, but she never fought back. The blows fell like rain. After what felt like an eternity, it finally stopped. I looked down at her coldly. Chloe, that was for every time you hurt me. If you hadn't enabled him, Leo never would have dared to do those things. The next time you show your face, the punishment will be much worse. I don't love you anymore. It's pointless to keep chasing me. With that, I turned and left with Jade. As we walked away, Jade looked back at Chloe with a triumphant smirk and mouthed the words, "You lose." Then, right in front of Chloe, she pulled me into a kiss, as if to prove that what we had was real. Chloe's anger and pain surged, and she coughed, spitting up a mouthful of blood. The coughing racked her body, and tears welled in her eyes as a wave of unbearable grief washed over her. Why was he with Jade? What did Jade have that she didn't? She didn't understand. It had all been a single, terrible mistake. She had never meant for Ethan's father to be harmed. Who could have predicted what would happen? Chloe closed her eyes against the pain, a bitter taste filling her mouth. After lying on the floor for what felt like hours, she finally managed to pull herself to her feet and limp to the hospital. In the past, whenever she was hurt, I would have been right by her side, refusing to leave, forgetting to eat or sleep just to take care of her. And when I was hurt, she was even more attentive. But now, no matter how badly she was injured, I would never feel a shred of pity for her again. Chloe was consumed by regret. She hated herself for ever bringing Leo into their lives, for indulging him time and time again. If she had just treated it as a simple transaction, cured Ethan's father, and sent Leo on his way, everything would be different now. But there was no going back. Chloe lay in her hospital bed, her heart a hollow pit of despair. A few days later, as she was being discharged, she saw me rushing into the emergency room with Jade. "Doctor, please help her. She's bleeding." The doctor gestured for me to let go of Jade's hand and, seeing it was just a small cut from a kitchen knife, couldn't help but remark, "You two must be very much in love. For such a small cut, your boyfriend is this worried." Jade just smiled and nodded. "Ethan cares about me a lot. He doesn't like to see me get hurt." I felt my cheeks flush, but I just said, "You cut yourself cooking for me." Of course I was worried. After her hand was bandaged, I fussed over her. "Jade, I'm not completely helpless, you know? I can do things around the house. You're hurt now, so you need to keep it dry. Let me do everything from now on, okay?" "What about showering?" she asked, her voice a low, teasing drawl. I hesitated for a moment, then mumbled, "You can call me for that too. It's not like we haven't seen each other naked before." Standing not far away, Chloe heard every word. A sharp, agonizing pain spread through her chest, radiating through her entire body. She bit down hard on her tongue, the metallic taste of blood bringing her back to her senses. Had they already slept together? They must have. "Ethan, how could you fall in love with someone else so quickly, after just a few months? Even I never went that far with Leo. If this was his way of punishing her, couldn't he have chosen any other way? Why did it have to be this?" A hoarse, grief-stricken sound escaped her lips. But I was already in the car with Jade driving away. Chloe watched our car disappear down the street, her heart twisting in her chest, her feet feeling as if they were rooted to the ground. She stood there for a long time, until her legs went numb, before she finally, slowly, began to walk away, a fragile, broken shell of her former self. And just then, as if on cue, her mother called. "Well, did you see Ethan and Jade together?" Chloe's silence was all the answer she needed, and the mocking tone in her mother's voice intensified. "Ethan has moved on. You're not indispensable to him. What is there left for you to cling to? What makes you think he would ever come back to you? Or more to the point, what right do you have to expect him to? You were the one who broke his heart. No one forced you. It's time for you to face reality. Continuing to chase him is just humiliating yourself. I've already found a few more suitable candidates for you to meet when you get back." With that, her mother hung up, not caring in the slightest how Chloe would react. She had delivered her message. That was enough. Sooner or later, Chloe would fail and come home. Chloe stood there in silence for a long time, thinking, was she really going to give up now? But an arranged marriage, a life spent with a man she didn't love, that was never the life she wanted. All she wanted was to get back together with Ethan. Why did it have to be so hard? If the rest of her life was just a compromise, what was the point? Chloe refused to live like that. After a long deliberation, she decided she had to try again. After all, she had pursued him relentlessly in the beginning. This was just another test in a different form. She would win him back. Finally, an idea came to her, and she made a call to set her plan in motion. Meanwhile, after work, I was waiting in Jade's car for her to drive us home. Suddenly, a man ran out in front of the car and threw himself on the ground. Jade's eyes widened and she slammed on the brakes, stopping just inches from him. The sudden stop threw me forward against my seatbelt. When I recovered, I looked at Jade. "He's okay, right?" I asked, a knot of worry in my stomach. "I'll go check," she said, frowning as she got out of the car. "Hello, sir, are you hurt?" she asked the man on the ground. But the moment he heard her voice, he lunged for her, wrapping his arms around her. "Miss, my leg hurts so much," he whined. Can you help me up? Maybe carry me? As he looked up, Jade froze for a second, and in that moment of hesitation, he managed to embrace her. Seeing me get out of the car, she quickly pushed him away. He looks a little like you, she explained hurriedly. I was just startled for a moment. That's how he managed to grab me. Don't get the wrong idea. I had seen the whole thing, so I wasn't about to misunderstand. I nodded, but as I got a better look at the man's face, I frowned. He did look a bit like me, but it was an artificial resemblance, the kind that comes from plastic surgery. His expressions were stiff and unnatural. I didn't say anything about that, though. From the way he moved, I don't think we hit him. It looks like he's trying to scam us. We should call someone to take him to the hospital. Jade agreed and immediately made a call, clearly wanting to distance herself from the man and avoid any further complications. But the man was persistent, trying to grab her again. Miss, you hit me. You have to take responsibility. Please don't go. I'm just as good as that guy you're with. Why don't you leave him for me? He continued to pester her, completely unaware that Jade was not the easygoing person she appeared to be with me. No one gets to be the head of the Kane family by being nice. Jade's expression turned to ice. She grabbed the man by the throat and slammed him back onto the pavement. Looks like you don't need a hospital after all. Now, tell me who hired you to seduce me. A honey trap? Is this the best you can do? Her usually gentle eyes were now filled with a chilling coldness as she brought her heel down on his hand, grinding it into the asphalt. The man's face contorted in pain, and he began to beg. Please, let me go. I won't do it again, I swear. I don't know who hired me. It was an anonymous payment. He didn't seem to be lying, so Jade released him. Then, she seemed to remember I was there and shot me a worried look, as if concerned I might think less of her. I gave her a reassuring smile. Don't worry, I get it. You were just defending yourself. I'm not an idiot. Seeing that I wasn't upset, Jade relaxed, but she couldn't help but wonder who would be targeting her like this. We looked at each other and the same name came to both our minds. Chloe. I frowned in annoyance. This was just pathetic. It seems we were too lenient with her last time, Jade said. Why don't we go ahead with our original plan? Fake wedding. That should make her give up for good, Jade suggested. I thought for a moment, then nodded. Okay, let's do it. But first, let's make her think her little plan is working. I doubt this is the only trick she has up her sleeve. And so, Jade and I began to put on a show. Men who looked vaguely like me started showing up everywhere. At her office, at restaurants we went to, even near our home. At first, Jade would immediately and decisively shut them down, leaving no room for any misunderstanding on my part. Then, one night, coming home from a dinner party, she mistook a security guard for me, letting him help her into her room. Just as the guard was about to make his move, Jade sobered up, pinning him to the ground and tying him up. She kept him there all night, a gun pressed to his throat. You're going to play along with our little show, she whispered. If you try to contact the person who hired you, you will die right here, right now. The guard, who had never seen a real gun before, was shaking uncontrollably and nodded frantically. Okay, I'll cooperate. After taking his phone, Jade tossed him in the bathroom, and we spent the rest of the night in bed. The next morning, we untied the guard and let him go. He was a mess of bruises and looked utterly exhausted. Then, for the final touch, I stormed out of the house, my eyes red with fake tears, ignoring Jade's pleas for me to stay. And just as we'd expected, Chloe's car was waiting just down the street. Seeing me run out, looking distraught, she pulled me into her car. Ethan, did Jade do something to hurt you? Tell me, and I'll go punish her for you right now. I told you she wasn't good enough for you. She was never right for you, she said, her voice filled with righteous anger. I covered my face with my hands, my voice choked with fake sobs. But I love her. I'm sorry, Chloe. I don't love you anymore. But I can't just let her go like this. At my words, Chloe's breath hitched, and her anger flared. Ethan, are you kidding me? You couldn't handle the idea of me having a soft spot for Leo, but you can tolerate Jade sleeping with another man. After just a few months, you love her that much? Then what did all our years together mean? She screamed, her eyes red with fury. I let out a self-deprecating laugh. What about all our years together? The moment Leo showed up, didn't you change? It's the same for me with Jade. I'll try to get over her, but not right now. I closed my eyes, feigning despair. After a long moment, I sighed. Chloe, come with me. I'm going to see Jade one last time, and then I'm going to end it for good. Chloe, blinded by a surge of triumphant joy, agreed without a second thought. But when we arrived at the address I'd given her, it was a hotel. Before she could ask what was going on, her mother's security guards grabbed her and tied her to a chair. What are you doing? I'm taking Ethan home. Let me go. Her mother ignored her, simply nodding at me. a signal that I was free to go. My heartbroken expression vanished, and I walked out of the room without a backward glance at Chloe. As she watched me walk away, the reality of the situation slowly dawned on her. Her eyes filled with tears of pure, unadulterated grief. A bitter, self-mocking laugh escaped her lips as she finally understood. It was all a lie, wasn't it? I thought Ethan was coming back to me. Her mother sighed. It can't be helped. You couldn't win him back. It's time to give up and come home. But before we go, Ethan has one final act of revenge planned. He and Jade are getting married. It's time to give up for good. As if on cue, the sound of a wedding march began to drift in from the next room. Following the music, they entered the hotel's grand ballroom, which had been transformed into a fairy tale wedding venue. It was filled with elegantly dressed guests, all smiling at the couple standing at the altar. The officiant spoke in a clear, solemn voice. Do you, Jade, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? To have and to hold, from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, till death do you part? I do, Jade said, her voice clear and unwavering. I do as well, I replied. As the words left my mouth, my eyes found Chloe's across the crowded room. I saw the utter despair in her gaze. A small smile touched my lips as I slid the ring onto Jade's finger and leaned in to kiss her. Even though it was all a sham, we had spared no expense on the ceremony. Chloe didn't suspect a thing. Her heart turned to ash, and she allowed her mother to lead her away. Her mother continued to arrange dates for her, and Chloe neither accepted nor refused. Just when everyone thought she was about to give in, she went to a clinic to have her eggs frozen. Then, she went to a monastery, shaved her head, and devoted her life to spiritual practice, cutting off all ties with the Sterling family and the world she had once known. Without Ethan, a life of compromise was meaningless.